We found out at last year's Congress, and again, one of the reasons that we're back again, that there isn't anyone that does what we do in the US. We are the first and only payroll specialist recruitment consultant.
I've been saying this, Nick, also in your podcast, the only one-size-fits-all is hybrid.
What can you do to especially make sure your younger staff are re-energized and they can see a future in payroll? And what can you do to make sure that payroll professionals are ready to enter the workforce? Because talent is going to be needed especially when people start rolling off.
Welcome to the Payroll Podcast, the show that explores the latest insights and innovations in the world of payroll. Hello and welcome back to the Payroll Podcast. I'm really excited to bring you this special episode as I have been away in Nashville for the 42nd Annual Payroll Congress, organized by Payroll Org, which is the world's largest membership organization specifically for payroll professionals. It was an absolutely fantastic event, and I was very fortunate that I got the opportunity to sit down with a number of industry-leading luminaries in the world of payroll to talk about exactly that, about payroll, about its future, about AI, about the Congress, and a whole lot more as well. So in a minute, you're going to hear some of these short, sharp interviews right in the midst of the whole event. So you're going to have a little bit of background noise in there as well. Hopefully some of the energy of the Congress really does shine through. It was a fantastic event. I feel very fortunate to have been in attendance. And if you haven't been before, then hopefully this will give you some insights as to why I would really recommend that you attend in 2025. It's going to be in Orlando in Florida. I will definitely be there. I will definitely be taking my team, particularly if this year was anything to go by, because I think this was the best Congress yet. I saw some fantastic workshops. I was able to attend the world's biggest payroll expo. I got to meet suppliers I've never even heard of who are really trying to change the game in the world of payroll. I also got the fantastic and very fortunate opportunity to facilitate a panel as part of an executive summit, which involved Nathan Mell from Deloitte, Sherry Sullivan from EY, Dimitris Papageorgiou from KPMG, Joe Ranzau from Grant Thornton, and there was a really high-level conversation about exactly how AI is going to impact the future of the payroll landscape. Huge opportunity for me. And if you're working at executive level, if you're at the top of your payroll game and you come in 2025, you will have the opportunity to be involved in these kind of conversations as well. So there's so many more reasons beyond that as to why I would recommend going. The parties alone are worth attendance, but most importantly of all, it was the networking, the community, and the sense that everyone is in this together to really raise the profile of payroll. Now, before I do jump into the interviews in just a moment, which I will do, they're the bits I know you want to get into today. I want to mention that I'm also going to be sharing this audio with the Pay Talk podcast, which is actually a podcast run directly by Payroll Org. So if you're a listener to that show, welcome. It's really nice to be a part of Pay Talk today. Please do check out the Payroll podcast, which is my usual channel. And of course, if you're a Payroll podcast listener, why don't you check out Pay Talk as well? You can find all the latest legislation that's impacting the world of American payroll and more. What I'm also going to say, which is really nice for me, is the Brits got a bit of an opportunity to get a bit of a sweep on the awards this year. So a huge shout outs for some of my colleagues from England that did attend the event. Priti Rugani, who's Associate Director of Global Payroll at King & Spalding, won the Payroll Titan Award. Now she's actually living in the States. She's been there now for a number of years, but it was great to see her win that award. She's been tirelessly dedicating herself to the world of payroll for many, many years. So that was really, really fantastic. We saw Tim Kelsey honored with the Special Friend Award. We even saw Jason Davenport and Claire Warrington win the Fancy Dress Award at the massive, fantastic and very memorable Payroll Org party. And I was also very fortunate, very lucky to win and be given the Global Vision Award, which I'm sharing with you. If you're watching this now, it's a beautiful award, absolutely honored, humbled, over the moon, surprised, shocked. But thank you ever so much for Payroll Org for giving me that award. It means the absolute world in an industry that I've been in for 20 years. And hopefully this podcast is just one part of what I've been trying to do to raise the profile of payroll for everyone that listens. It's so important we do that so we can get that seat at the table, so we can be taken a little bit more seriously by our executive counterparts. And so that when we have an executive summit in the future, everyone in that room is already working at executive level in the world of payroll. Right, without further ado, we're going to go to a very quick break from one of our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to hear from some of the biggest, brightest, fantastic, and most amazing payroll professionals that are working in the space right now, working tirelessly to raise the profile, who are part of this wonderful community at Congress. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Today's episode of the Payroll Podcast is sponsored by Deel. Now take a moment to consider the following pre-show scenario. Imagine you had to visit 6 different houses just to cook your dinner. One place has the pots and the pans, another has the stove, another has the food. You get the idea. Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, the reality is most global businesses operate exactly the same way, using 6 different tools and platforms just to play their global workforce. But now there's one platform offering truly simple, truly global payroll, and that's today's sponsor. That's Deel. That's Deel. And Deel's fully managed global payroll makes it possible to pay your entire team in over 100 countries and in over 200 currencies, all in one place. So whether you're an enterprise company, a small business, or something in between, Deel is built to meet your unique business needs. With in-house customer success managers, local payroll experts, and more, Deel's fully managed global payroll eliminates third-party handovers and instead provides unmatched compliance and flexibility. In fact, they'll even help you track and flag the latest changes in payroll regulations before they even become an issue. And with 24/7 monitoring and best-in-class security protocols, your sensitive data is always protected. So are you ready to change your global payroll system? If you are, click the link in the show notes to book your demo with Deel today. So here we are on day 1 of the 42nd Payroll Congress. I'm joined by Tom Croughton, who's SVP of the JJ Recruitment US business. Tom, how are you feeling?
I'm really excited to be here. This hotel is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Nick and I have spent a couple of days downtown, which is really, really fun. Look forward to getting going.
It is a really impressive hotel. You can't see all of it here, but I'm literally faced at the minute by waterfalls and rock formations and restaurants and balconies. It's the biggest hotel I have genuinely ever been to in my entire life. Right, we've got a packed day ahead of us. So tell us about what you're planning for the day.
So today we're settling in for the rest of the day today. And then we have I think we've got a workday party later on with the guys from Payslip. Be good to get to see them again. Haven't seen them for a little while. Hopefully meet some new faces as well.
And these congresses are renowned for their party. So it starts, we've got workday tonight. I think we've got another party tomorrow. We've got the very world famous Payroll Congress party, which I think is on Thursday. Tell us a little bit about why you've come again this year. This, I believe, is your 2nd Congress. Yep. What are the things you're hoping to discover? What's brought you back? Tell us your motivations.
Congress last year was amazing. As Nick said, it was my first one. Eye-opening to see the passion in the community that we have within payroll, especially payroll org. I think the theme is what's really brought me back this year. Total payroll transformation couldn't have come at a better time for our industry. I'm really excited to see what the panels are going to put on.
And actually, Tom is one of the exclusive people that's going to be involved in the executive summit, which I'm going to be facilitating on Wednesday. And I'm really, really looking forward to being in the space because we know that talent is a particular challenge that many of the people coming to this Congress are struggling with. How do we find top talent? We're the first payroll specialist recruiter ever to enter this space in the US. So from an SVP's point of view, tell us a little bit about what you're hoping to discover from the insights and what are you hoping to achieve from a recruiter's perspective?
We found out at last year's Congress, and again, one of the reasons that we're back again, that there isn't anyone that does what we do in the US. We are the first and only payroll specialist recruitment consultancy. So it'd be interesting to find out, there are clients that we've been supporting in the US for a year or so now. From my understanding, there's internal talent teams who have really difficult jobs. Other than that, companies seem to just put the advert out onto LinkedIn and wait. So what I'm really keen to find out is what companies are doing to be able to attract top talent, within 23, 24 and then beyond.
In addition to that, we're going to be meeting some of the most impressive payroll professionals that exist anywhere in the world at this Congress. I remember last year meeting, I think it was Becky Harshman, who's had a payroll of over 600,000 payslips. I think she was processing a month. We've got some real scale as well. We've got global payroll professionals, global payroll directors that are really changing the shape of the industry. Anyone particularly you're looking forward to meeting or any, what are you trying to get out of the community side of things from the Congress?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, Nick. I'm very much looking forward to connecting with people that I know within payroll and HR software. I think you mentioned huge payrolls, and yeah, we're going to have the titans here, but we've also got some really innovative technologies that are coming out as well. So I'm looking forward to catching up with those guys. An exec summit, cannot wait. Again, a room full of titans. You've got the processing guys who have got those massive payrolls. And then we've got 4 partners of some of the largest accounting and tech advisory companies in the world. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a great day.
And of course, it's the world's biggest payroll expo here at Payroll Congress. The biggest, like you've never seen before. Every supplier under the sun delivering every possible type of payroll solution that's ever been delivered, from AI to rapid payments, to card payments, to pay on demand, and way, way more. Anyone particularly, or any kind of service provider you're really excited about discovering more about at the expo?
I think for me, what will be really interesting is finding out how the more traditional software houses are going to deal with the up and comings. I think that'll be really interesting. You know, are they developing strategies to be able to deal with the new startups? I think that'll be something that'll interest a lot of people. And then just catching up with connections as well. We've got a real sense of community, both within HR tech and within global payroll here at Payroll Congress. And it's a great thing to be a part of.
Fantastic. I know from my perspective, I'm very much looking forward to finding out how the payroll professionals are really going to attract the new talent, the new breed of payroll professional into this wonderful industry. So that's something I'm really passionate about, and I'll be looking to discover as well. First, though, we need to try and navigate this hotel, which is 4,000 or 5,000 rooms the size of this hotel. I've got lost already about 5 times. I think it's probably time we navigated the hotel to find registration, Tom. What do you think?
Absolutely. You've caught me straight off the plane. Yeah, I've got my trainers on. I need to go and clean up before the workday party later on. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome, Tom. Right, let's go find registration. Thank you.
Hey, so welcome back to the Payroll Podcast. I'm joined by a veteran of the podcast. He's been on, I think, 4 times. Global Vision winner. Last time I think I had you here in Payo. Max van der Klis-Busink. Max, how are you finding Payroll Congress, the 42nd Congress?
As always, it's a rush of blood to the head, and I'm actually welcomed by another Global Vision Award winner named Nick Day. So Nick, congratulations again.
Thank you very much. Yeah, a bit of a surprise. So I think we're the 2 only guys have won the the Global Vision Award.
That's correct. It's being dominated by women, but you know the men are striking back. So Nick, let's find another candidate for the Global Vision Award. Yeah?
Actually, the Brits have taken over a little bit this year. I think we had Pretty won the Titan Award. We had the CRPP, Jason and Claire, winning the fancy dress competition as best dressed, which I thought was quite cool. And we also had Tim Kelsey winning the Special Friend Award. So a bit of a Brits taking all awards home this year. How do you feel about that coming from the Netherlands?
Well, maybe since you left the EU, maybe that kind of Brexit thing made you ignite your global career. So maybe I'll talk to our parliament in the Netherlands to see maybe to win some awards we have to leave the EU. So that might be it.
Maybe. Listen, tell us a little about the Congress so far. You're obviously now with Payzar. How's it been for you?
No, it's amazing. Actually, I have 2 or 3 hats on at Congress now because I've recently been appointed as Vice President Global Strategy at Payo to serve at the Board of Directors.
Of course you have. Yes, congratulations. A voluntary role. And just remind everyone that's VP of Global Payroll for Payroll. Is that correct?
Almost. I'm rehearsing it as well. So it's Vice President of Global Strategy, which basically means that my personal goal would be wherever you would ask a payroll professional around the world where to go to for resources, education or networking, they would all say Payo.
Very nice. I'll never forget, and actually for those who have listened to my song, My Payroll Career, we were talking about this yesterday, Max is the only person that actually has some of his words from our first podcast together in the lyrics, where he said, payroll brings the best of HR, tech and finance. That came from Max. So he's in the song, and you're hugely passionate about global payroll. It always happens. So first met you in your days at Shell. Tell us a little bit about, for people that haven't been to Payroll before, maybe they work in global payroll, why should they come?
Why should they come? Because it will change your career and your life. You could learn a lot while being at home or being at work, but once you actually meet people in person and you have deep conversations, you'll find yourself getting insights you would never get if you would not be here. That's what I did. I still remember, for instance, a session I did with Brent Gao. I think it was in 2018. Brent is a great guy and a very thought leader in global payroll. He did a session about vendor management in 2018, and that changed my whole perception of how to deal with payroll providers, to really transform it to be a partnership. And I had a session on Tuesday about global payroll project management. And I've been doing this for 17 years, Nick, but every session I join, I learn something new. Every Congress I join, I learn new people. I have accessed over 1,000 global payroll professionals through my connections at Congress that are now lasting friends that I still call upon. Because the quote I always give about global payroll is, it's not what you know, it's about who you know.
Love that. And actually, when I'm dealing with people from a coaching perspective, we always say, I don't know how to do this. It's never about the how, it's always about the who. You mentioned Brent Gow, for those that are watching. Brent Gow was in an executive panel discussion that I was facilitating yesterday. It was my first time I've met Brent. And he's a pretty incredible guy, right? He used to be at Starbucks. He was talking about the importance of engaging key stakeholders like HR, like finance, into any project you're trying to deliver in the world of payroll. And he was telling us about a transformation project he delivered where the HR people or HR folk in his business lost 20% of their bonus if they didn't deliver or help them deliver the payroll projects on time. And he said, you know what? We delivered that on time, right? It really impacted bonuses. He was a really inspirational guy. And a great example of someone I've met for the first time. It's a really great place to connect and to meet. And it's obviously where we've connected as well. And you've also got to talk yourself later on stage. Tell us a bit about that.
I do probably need to practice a little bit because the slides were submitted months ago. No, I'm going to talk with our dear friend Kira Rubiano, who also won the Global Vision Award. It's about PEO versus EOR, so that's Permanent Employment Organization and Employer of Record. Those terms have been out there for a while. And I think the main goal today is for Kira and I to kind of demystify that, because Kira, of course, works for Atlas, EOR. And I now work at Payzar, the global payroll management platform of the world. But I've also been a global payroll manager myself before, where you kind of manage the scope of global payroll. But you also have this tiny little scope of an EOR. And at my last job, there was like 100 employees in 30 countries, which was within EOR. So what Kira will do is she will lay down what is EOR, what is PEO, what are the differences, and I'll then link that back to how does it work in a global payroll environment and what to look out for, what to be scared of, and how to solve all of that. So it will be an energizing session where we will, of course, ask everyone to interact. So one not to miss. Of course, the people listening to this podcast were too late. Sure. But just to say, you should come next year, but I'm pretty sure we'll be back.
Okay, well, a little spoiler alert then for those that can't make the show because it's 2:15 today, and this is going to go out probably a week from now. Who wins, EOR or PEO?
EOR. Because you would look at PEO as more of a co-employment in the US to, for instance, access benefits such as 401ks and all that. EOR is really for rapid international expansion. And probably the EOR providers here on the expo will correct me because I simplified it. But for me, as what we used to do in my companies is we used to use EOR if you're going in and out of countries, if you're testing the waters to see if a market is right for you. Because you don't want to immediately set up an entity, set up a payroll, or go through all the legal work. EOR is very quick. However, my personal opinion is it's not for the long term. Because once you're settled, you might need an entity to even do business. You might need to include it in the global payroll model. But that's why I've been saying this, Nick, also in your podcast, the only one size fits all is hybrid, which shows again. There's a lot of providers who say, you need to go to us, we're the one-stop shop, which could be great if you're like in 10 or 15 countries. But I've talked to people who are in 115 countries with 120,000 employees. You need different solutions for different scopes. And I think if you would come here, you would learn all about it, not just from providers in the expo, who, by the way, are becoming more consultative. They're not just selling, they actually share best practices, and to professionals like us. So again, to your earlier question, you should really come over.
Yeah, I agree. And you also get a chance to meet people like Max and Kira. Kira's a real inspiration, right? I've met her several times as well. As you said, previous winner of the Global Vision Award as well. And actually, funny enough, I was speaking to a payroll manager only an hour ago at a meeting in the networking lounge. And that individual is trying to centralize 84 countries, which is currently split across 65 vendors in what is going to be a 4-year project plan. I mean, it's complicated. And from an EOR perspective, even as a small recruiter like ourselves, we've got 25 employees, we've employed an EOR solution when we launched in the US. But you're right, we may not always have it there until we build, till we scale. We're well enough to have our own entity with our own payroll, and we'll bring it in-house. But as you say, all these things cost money. So.
Exactly. Yes, it does. Well, it's of course you refer this individual to us at Payzar, right, to then help them centralize it. No, but Something else I might maybe want to touch on is that we sit here, of course we're experienced, but we've also put in the hard work to get here. And we were bold enough to say, let's maybe write an article. Let's maybe do a podcast like you did. You were the first one, whatever everyone else says.
Max has his own podcast too. It's very good, so do check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes.
It is a great podcast, but kudos go to you. You were the first to really do a podcast. And I started listening to it. But for me, just go out there and develop yourself. If you are able to explain something, you really understand it. I've had a lot of professionals say, oh, how do you do it? Aren't you scared to speak? I said, no, I'll make mistakes. I make mistakes every minute. But it's about sharing and not possessing knowledge. And I hope that we as a whole profession can finally pivot to say, let's maybe share my best practices. So let's maybe ask for help so we can all help to develop the profession. So my call to action is write your first article. If you don't know how to, just ask Nick, he'll help you. If Nick says no, then come to me, then I'll help you. But go out there. Everybody has a story to tell, not just Nick and Max or Kira, all of you out there.
Yeah, great words. And by the way, Max does make an awful lot of mistakes. No, I'm just kidding. But last thing I want to mention is Max was actually in an executive summit panel that I was part of yesterday, facilitating with some of the biggest firms in the world. We were talking about AI's impact on the future landscape of payroll, and amongst other things as well. Not everyone had access to the executive summit. It was the first time Payroll have actually run it. I wonder if you can give us a bit of an overview of maybe something you took away from the summit. Again, another reason why people may want to come out, even if you're at C-suite level, you may think, you know what, I don't want to go to a congress, it's just about transactional things. There's a lot of strategy going on, there's some higher level conversations as well. So tell us a little bit about the outputs or I don't know, anything you took away from yesterday's session.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. First, kudos to you for doing the panel discussion. It was very well organized. We had thought leaders with EY, KPMG, Grant Thornton, PwC, Deloitte. Oh, Deloitte. Yeah, I always forget Deloitte. Sorry. Oh, I've named them all now. So my key takeaway was that it will not replace your job. I know that's the talk of the day. I just want to reassure people, just like with RPA, just like with all the other automation, people still walk around with their payroll jobs and their badges. So first of all, AI will not replace you. But as with any new innovation, it will change your job. So it's either adapt or not adapt. And I would just encourage everyone to embrace AI while we are all discovering what the actual use cases are. The one big concern is around PII data that we also discussed. You know, there's another platform that takes your data, that takes very sensitive data and what to make out of it. But I would almost call it like what Microsoft calls it, a co-pilot. It will be another virtual assistant. And one of the main takeaways for me was the RPA versus AI question. So someone in the audience asked, I already implemented a lot of RPA, a lot of bots, it's working great. Why should I now throw that away and then do AI? And I think it was Joe actually from GT that answered the question very nicely. He said, well, you probably have a lot of scripts for the bot. Yes, of course we have. What if something changes? Well, you need to change the bot. Well, if you would use AI, give them the instructions and the AI will self-learn how to then further develop. And we're talking about relatively simple stuff like reconciliations, like analysis, like trends. But you are now able to do this in your Excel spreadsheets, but it will break with the number of details that you will have. And you might not be able to spot trends because of your own bias. Probably the last point I'll say was an eye-opener for me. There's a lot of talk about AI and bias, but it's fine because people are also biased. So let's stop bashing AI to have bias because everyone in the world has bias. But let me return the question, since you led the whole talk, Nick, what was your takeaway?
Well, there were a lot of takeaways, to be fair. And it was an expert panel. I love the idea that the people that are working for the firms are the guys are really innovating. So whatever they're doing, they're already ahead of what the curve is doing. Like, they've got the investment, they've got the research, they've got the tech. So we all listen to what they're doing because they're going to shape the industry of tomorrow. For those that are fearful of jobs, my 2 pence worth would be, I work in recruitment. If I was fearful of it impacting jobs, I would not be for AI. I'm 100% for AI, right? This is going to displace jobs for sure, but in an exciting way for payroll. And if I didn't think it was going to do that, I'd have no industry to work in, because if payroll didn't need people, they wouldn't need payroll recruitment either. And I'm really excited for it because I think it's a really exciting opportunity for payroll professionals to really get involved in some exciting work, getting out of the mundane stuff and getting out of the transactional and moving into the strategic. So yeah, there were a lot of takeaways. It was great having people like yourself in the room. I guess last point, I'm conscious you've got a stall over there and a booth rather, and people are going to come over to you, and I'm taking your time. But you mentioned earlier one of the best things is networking here. And I've noticed that, and they do this every year, people that come have a little red dot on their badges. You get these badges, you get a red dot for the newbies. And you'd be surprised if you've never come here before and you're worried that you're going to be coming on your own. My advice would be don't be. There are people who are literally looking out for red dots just to take you on your journey, just support. Max is one of these people. And it's there's a lot of support out there. So if you're considering this for your first time, I would say come out. You'll be amazed how quickly you build a community. You'll be here. We've got buses going to Nashville. We've got people now meeting for lunches. There's parties every single night. There's a lot of opportunity to connect. And I think that's often the biggest fear, right? Is people scared they're coming on their own. And I mentioned in the talk yesterday, our potential lives on the other side of fear. You've got to lean into it. So do that, come here, and who knows where your potential will lead you. But I'd love to get you, you're someone who looks for those red dots. So tell me a little bit about how you've been supporting first-timers to Congress.
Yeah, so about fear, you could also look at fear as an acronym, which means face everything and rise.
Nice.
It's actually an album, music album. You need to look it up. It's a great album. But face everything and rise. So overcome that hurdle. I would say 70% of the people here are introverts. They're all introverts. So they made the bold move to come here. And you'll be amongst friends. I think there's 2,300 people here. You don't need to explain what payroll is. You don't need to explain what you do. You don't even need to defend what you do because you're amongst friends and a group that understands your scope. So take away that fear. Yes, there is an investment, right? Discuss it with your leadership team. But the ROI, so the return on investment of this here is amazing. And probably what I want to leave you with is payroll is not just a job, it's a career. And a career requires investment and you to go out there. So I would encourage you to take your career to the next level and just join us here at Payo.
Yeah, amazing. It's a career and a community for sure. And I meet most people just in the Starbucks queue, right? They're pretty long here.
It's true.
Trust me, if you like coffee, you're going to meet loads of people on your first day.
Become an exhibitor and then you get free coffee.
Yeah, we're not paid for that, by the way. That's a little plug for Starbucks. Listen, Max van der Klis-Busink, thank you ever so much for joining me.
Welcome.
First interview of the Congress. So thank you for being on the sofa for the 5th, 6th, 7th time. I just hope you have a great Congress.
Thanks. I will be with you day and night, Nick.
Hello, HR and people leaders. Are you not exhausted from the endless war for talent battle cries? I think it's time for a fresh approach. Which is why at JGA Recruitment, we understand the real challenges you face in sourcing top HR talent. And guess what? We believe we have the solution. Our team is on a mission to revolutionize your hiring process because we're not just recruiters. We're strategic partners dedicated to finding the best HR and people professionals who align perfectly with your company's vision and goals. Let's break the cycle of frustration together. Join forces with JJ Recruitment and experience the difference in hiring better talent faster. Don't let another day go by without taking action. Contact us today by visiting jgarecruitment.com to discover how we can transform your HR team. And here's a bonus. When you visit us, why not sign up for our weekly HR newsletter? Because it's packed with invaluable industry insights and more. We really hope you can revolutionize your HR department by working with JGA Recruitment. Contact us today.
Well, here we go. So, thank you, Max. I'm super excited. I get the opportunity to speak to the new president of Payroll Org. Jim, welcome. I wonder if you can introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of great stuff that's going on. You want me to talk about myself a little bit?
Let's find out about you. We've got listeners
talking about
all over the globe, right? Who won't know about the new president necessarily. Maybe they've not read the press releases. Maybe they've not seen you on stage. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your role. Right? You've been involved in this organization for a long time.
Yes, I've done a lot with the APA. But, my name is Jim Bolek. I am the president of Basic Payroll. So we're a full-service payroll provider here in the United States. And we have about 1,500 clients across the nation. But my role with Payo is that I get to be an ambassador for Payo. I get to speak at different conferences. I get to speak at this Congress, which is incredible. And I get to do a lot of work for the organization. I grew up in the organization, right? My payroll career, the first thing I did was I got involved with Payo, and then I've grown up and I've learned a ton, and I met some incredible people. So I'm excited to be able to give back and to be able to talk to other people about my experiences that I've had.
Amazing. By the way, when Jim was announced on stage, you got a raucous support. There was a lot of cheers in the room. Obviously, Linda's done an amazing job here before. I love Linda. She's been fantastic. She was helping me with the panel facilitation yesterday. And I must add as well, we're very lucky because I've been seeing Jim. He's taken his first 2-minute break. He's been overwhelmed with support. And as soon as he sat down, I've grabbed him and made him sit here on the sofa. And we're going to share this recording on Pay Talk as well, a podcast which goes out to Payroll as well as the Payroll Podcast. For people that are new to Congress, what reasons would you give to someone who maybe listening to this that almost came this year, decided not to, maybe a little bit fearful, coming on their own?
Right.
What can they get from coming to their first Congress?
As I said the first day on stage when I was talking to everyone, there's my 3 takeaways are to learn, to shop, and to network. Those are your 3 biggest things. So you get to learn by going to these incredible breakouts. You've got a ton of different workshops you can go to, lots of different subject matter that you can learn on, especially that are related to payroll. Learn about something that might not be 100% related to your position, but you get to grow as a payroll professional. You can shop when you come into this vendor hall. There are so many vendors of so many different things, products that you're like, whoa, I didn't even know we could do that, or I didn't know that would work. And the one thing that I say is that imagine you go back to your office and say, hey, I talked to someone from such and such a company, and this is what they do. This could work for us. We could save a ton of money. And your leaders would take that in spades. It would be great. And also a network. That's the biggest thing that I pull from this is just networking and talking to people. As you said, I had about 2 minutes to sit down, but I've spent my time going from booth to booth, networking people, talking to first timers. I spent about 5 hours on registration day on Monday, just talking to people as they came in and registered. It wasn't so much just talk to them, I wanted to make them feel comfortable and just get them into the atmosphere of making sure that they can then go on and talk to someone who goes on and talk to someone, and it just builds and that networking builds.
Fantastic. On the shopping side, I have to say, if you haven't been here before, this is the biggest payroll expo in the world for payroll professionals. I've been in this for 20 years, and every time I come, I see a different supplier, a different provider, something unique. We've got AI now and different solutions. So it's pretty incredible. And on the networking side, community, for sure. Me and Max had a great chat about how that is. There are workshops as well, as you mentioned, for everything. So whether you work in domestic payroll or global payroll or whatever it is, there's going to be a workshop here for you. What's exciting you most about the future of payroll? There's been a lot of conversations about things like AI, but this is a career path that can take you in many different directions. As the president now for the next year, what are the things that you're going to be most focused on that's going to really help evolve and push this career path forward?
I mean, obviously, I'm sure Max talked about it, but AI is a big thing, right? It's one of the key things that are going to be able to help and grow payroll and grow the profession as we go. There are so many different things about payroll that make it exciting. It's hard. A lot of times people come into payroll and they just don't realize that they're even going to do payroll, or they just kind of get handed the position. So it's always a challenge, but there are so many different ways you can go with it. You can go to finance, you can go to HR, you can take your career wherever you want to take it, and payroll is an incredible starting point. Or you can take it and become a lifelong payroll person like some of us have. So it's an incredible starting point, and that's what always excites me about the future of payroll is that you never know what's going to happen, right? There's always changes. You have different things that occur. I mean, we see AI and we see that that's where we need to focus, and we need to look at that and use that to our advantage to help process payrolls. But there are so many different things that are floating around in the periphery that are going to just kind of jump up, and things happen when we have the pandemic and stuff that just change how we all work completely, and how we process payroll and how we distributed payroll and everything like that. So there's you've got to kind of always be on your toes, ready to move. I tell my son it's like playing baseball, where you got to be on your toes and be ready to pivot either way. So you just got to be ready to pivot, but you need to keep looking at the big things too that are out there, like AI and like advanced learning and stuff like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's such an exciting time to be in payroll right now, right? There's so many things going on. So you can specialize now in so many different areas. It doesn't have to just be transactional. If it does, and that's what you love doing, that's great. But it doesn't have to be, so I think that's quite exciting. I know you're exhausted. I'll ask you one last question. I don't want to keep you too long. You've got a year. This year's going to fly by. If there was something that you were able to leave a legacy on the year that you've got ahead of you now, and I'm sure you've got some goals and objectives you'd like to achieve over the next year, what if you can share what some of those might be?
There's lots of goals, right? I want to make this to be welcoming. I want to get out and I want to be able to network with people. And I want people to feel that I'm approachable and that they can come up and talk to me. So if they see me at a statewide or they see me at another event or even in the grocery store, that they can come up and talk to me. And I want to be approachable and I want to be able to talk about payroll. One of the big things that I personally, and this is probably my own personal thing, is that I'm part of a group of small payroll processors because they owners and stuff, we get together and we do a lot of things to help control some legislation and to keep eyes on the different things that they're doing at the government level as far as laws and stuff. And so I partnered them with Payo to make sure that we can all work together and we're all working towards the same goal. So I want to make sure that Payo is there for the smaller like payroll service bureaus and stuff like that, as well as our ADPs and Paychecks and our big sponsors, but also being there for the smaller payroll companies. And then in turn, we can support Payo and what they're doing and with white papers and different things like that. So
amazing. Sounds like being in the job 2 days, you've already started your legacy. You've already got them involved. The job's done, right? My job.
Yes. I want to get started quick because a year, like you said, goes fast. I knew starting this week, I was fearful of like next thing I know it's gonna be Friday and it's gonna be over, and we're almost there now. So, but man, it's been an incredible week. So this has been an incredible conference.
And I believe next conference is going to be Orlando.
Yep.
Yep. So if you're interested in coming next year, you'll probably hear Jim passing over to the president, the next president, and we'll hear all about how he's going with those objectives as well. But if you're listening to this, I encourage you, book in for Florida, come to Orlando. It's a great congress. Jim, thank you so much for giving up your time to speak to me today.
No problem.
And if it's something I can give you some assurance for, you're incredibly approachable.
Oh, thank you.
You've made it very easy for me, and I've made it first time this congress, right? And you've made it very easy and made me feel very comfortable as well. So thank you, and I wish you the best of luck in your presidency.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And hey, if you come next year to Orlando, come see me and let's talk and let's talk payroll. Let's not talk payroll. Let's talk about other things too. So
yeah, we can talk baseball.
Yeah, there you go.
Jim, thank you.
Thank you.
So now I'm with Deel, a guy that I've met several times at Congress, a massive soccer fan, Arsenal fan I should add, which we'll forgive him for that for today, but we'll find out how you've been finding Congress so far this year, Deel.
So it's actually been quite well for me. This has been one of my most successful congresses from a personal standpoint. I've made incredible connections with individuals, with vendors. Probably the best experience I've had is finding myself walking into the wrong session, but actually to the benefit of myself and the session.
Okay, so I've got to ask now, what was the session you were supposed to be at, and what was the session you ended up in?
I was supposed to be in a session on automating pre-payroll processes.
Okay.
However, when I went up to was looking at doors and looking at the digital signs, I saw the sign for that session, went into that room. I like to walk to the front and be in the front so I can interact. Get all the way to the front, I'm a few minutes late, and when I do that, I very quickly, looking at slides, realize I'm in the second part of the California payroll session.
That's pretty specific. So how did that turn out to be a good thing?
So it turned out to be a good thing because there were some people in the audience who had some very arcane questions. Things like, what is the rate for tech workers to be considered exempt from overtime? And that's something that one wouldn't know right off the bat, especially because it changes annually. So unless you're working in that every day, you're not necessarily going to know that. Right. I was able to provide that answer. And there were similar questions like that I was able to provide, giving other people an opportunity to answer first, and the presenters, but it was a way that I could contribute and answer people's questions. And that was just, a really good, satisfying experience for me.
Amazing. Well, actually, you won't know this, but I was in one of the sessions with you during this Congress, and I haven't mentioned this to you yet. It was the GPT session.
Yes.
And you were pretty active in that session as well. I think you put out one of the prompts. You were helping someone at the back with some payroll issues, and sounds like you've been embracing AI and payroll. So from that perspective, what makes you excited about the future of payroll?
Well, I think what makes it exciting is that we have an opportunity to what I call smart skill. In Congress, we've heard a lot about upskilling or reskilling. I like to use the term smart skilling because we have a chance now to move into the post-information age with payroll, to use tools so that we are not working the mundane jobs, the mundane task, and we can leverage our knowledge and our customer service skills to better become strategic partners for our management teams and, more importantly, for our end users, which are the people we pay.
Fantastic. Now, I know that you're a bit of a Congress stalwart. You come to everyone. It's your highlight of your year. You've said that to me openly. Why? Tell us a little bit more. For the people who've never been to Congress, why is this such a special event for you?
Because I actually had this question from a first-timer. It turned the question back on me where I said, what was the most exciting thing about your first Congress? For me, the most exciting thing, I was a one-person payroll, HR, and benefits department. So a compliance nightmare. Came to my first Congress, was immediately embraced by a community of people who not only spoke the same language I did, but had the same challenges and could both be empathetic with me, but also could help me, so that where I went from that point, a one-person department, to where I now own and employ a payroll consulting business.
That's an amazing story. That's really so. For those that haven't come to Congress before, maybe thinking about coming to Florida next year, how would you pitch it?
I would pitch it, first off, as Orlando. Secondly, I would pitch it as it is going to transform your understanding and experience with payroll. It's also going to take you into an area where you are going to have the chance to grow and develop your skills and your career in ways that you never thought you would, to be as more successful than you ever thought was possible. And an example of what made this Congress so special for me was one of my first teachers from that first Congress approached me this year asking me to collaborate with him on a proposal for a session next year to give me an opportunity to do my first presentation and session at Congress, followed up by the Alaska team asking me to present at their statewide conference as well.
Yeah, well, amazing story. Well, congratulations, I should say. Now, I can't leave this little fireside chat without asking you a little bit about something that is close to your heart. We don't have to talk about Arsenal necessarily, but you're a huge soccer fan.
Yes.
Now, in the US, this is still a relatively rare thing because you're passionate about English soccer. Yes. So, taking us segueing slightly to the left, we have 20, 30 seconds about this. I know we could take hours on this subject because you love it so much. But where does that passion for English soccer come from?
It comes from the fact that when I was a child, my father's family, cousins, aunts, uncles, still live in England. And I grew up in England because my father was in the Air Force. And so there I got that passion as a child. I played left midfield, and I just found that it is the beautiful game.
I can't disagree. I'm a huge Spurs fan. We're rivals. For those who don't know about soccer, Arsenal and Spurs are huge rivals. But we're friends, so that's good.
Yes.
Dale, thank you so much for joining me today. And listen, I hope you enjoy the rest of Congress.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate you.
Okay, so here we are. We're in the Payroll Org Networking Lounge, and I'm joined by someone I've met at my very first Congress. I've met him every time since. Danny Schulz, who is Senior Manager for Payroll Systems and Taxes at Kohler Co. So, Danny, how are you finding this year's Congress?
You know, these things are always great for me personally. I've just had so many great connections with APA or PAO and everybody around. It's that refreshing, energizing boost you need sometimes as a payroll professional. And one of my favorite things about it is it's in May always. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so the ability for payroll pros to come out and be able to find some balance and re-energize is extra important this month.
Yeah, I like that. It's the first time mental health's been mentioned, right? But payroll is a stressful career. I spoke to a payroll manager earlier who's one's going through a transformation, 84 countries, another's dealing with a payroll global, 131,000 employees. Like, these are big responsibilities, complex payroll situations. And I get it. Like, this is a chance just to de-stress, communicate with your colleagues, work out what's right, what's wrong. diversity of thought. Is that something we need to pay more attention to, mental health in the world of payroll?
I think it's everywhere. But yeah, and HR, our friends in HR, our friends in IT and everybody. It's one of these things that, for us, burnout is real. And one of the things that we have to do as leaders is make sure that, especially with the younger staff, if you look at the average age of payroll professionals, I think somebody had this discussion before this week, and they said it's probably 45, 46. And so it's, what can you do to especially make sure your younger staff are re-energized and they can see a future in payroll? And what can you do to make sure that payroll professionals are ready to enter the workforce? Because talent is going to be needed especially when people start rolling off.
Yeah, no, right. And also I've got a few badges here. So you're a Payroll Org subscriber, speaker. You're a National Speakers Bureau and SPLTF as well. So what were you speaking on this year? What was your workshop? Or have you delivered more than one?
I was just in one this year, plenty for me. We did a workshop with John Schulz and Shar Hodges. We talked about how we transform payroll from transactional processing and really into that strategic partner that's needed across the organization.
Okay, so a little bit of a spoiler alert. What are the key tips we could take away from your talk? What are the key things that we can share as a message now for maybe the people who couldn't make your talk or couldn't make the Congress this year?
Yeah, for us, one of the biggest things, that I spoke about was, we were really fortunate to have some tools that were invested in that really helped deploy some metrics for our organization. That helped me personally at Kohler. We had a retirement of somebody that was on the team for 28 years, and it helped me drive the business case to, take some of the roles and provide some more career pathing for the younger members of the team. And there was direct results in that for their engagement, and my overall team's engagement scores in one of the latest surveys we had have been up, I think like 20% from the prior Pulse survey. And so it's, one of those things as a manager, you have to lean into the metrics. You have to lean into your staff's progression. I always say one of the greatest things I have is when somebody gets promoted or they take a job and advancement, whether it's on my team or not. It's how do you help them to the next step in their career? And those are the great things as a manager.
Yeah, I like the way you raised that point. I was at an executive summit yesterday, and one of the things we were talking about is how do we attract staff into our organization, right? And one of the most important things is showing people that there's a pathway to progression in payroll. I mean, I would argue, and I haven't done the analysis, but I'd make an assumption that in payroll, you can actually progress quicker than you can in finance or even HR. There's a really direct route to senior leadership in payroll. It's a community that wants to give back and wants to help people on that trajectory as well. So what can we do to get that message out? How can we encourage more people to come into the profession that don't realize yet just how many opportunities this industry can provide them?
That's a fantastic question. Thinking about it, I think one of the things that we need to do is look at, how can we partner better with local colleges and universities? Do we spin up internship programs at our organizations in areas we don't have them? Can we really, you can really change payroll, driving the metrics, driving the analytics, the reporting, and really shining the light on payroll. And then obviously going into data and machine learning and AI. There's so many things, and AI was such a topic this year, which was
Massive.
great to see. But there's so many things there that can attract the young talent. It's more than, just the customer service side of payroll, which I think will probably get a bad rap. Nobody likes getting yelled at because somebody's check is off 35 cents, but
right.
Those calls are going to happen. It's, how can we make sure it's the very strategic function in the workplace?
Okay, so with that in mind, if you had a crystal ball, what do you think we're going to be talking about? Congress, Florida, Orlando, 2025. What's going to be the hot topic? AI is a hot topic this year, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably a continuation of AI. I think, AI is going to advance a lot in the next 12 months. Hopefully, I forget who the speaker was, but he was from ADP, and he talked about, there was a great question from the audience as, we see a lot of AI first in the HR space. We haven't seen a lot yet in the payroll space, and they asked why. He had a great point of the hallucinations within AI and payroll is really difficult because there's so many different rules and boundaries and locations. You just look at California and you look at the minimum wage requirements are sometimes by county and city. And so it's hard to get the AI and machine learning right. So there's, hopefully we're far enough along in 12 months where we're less hallucinations, and we can start talking about more live AI in payroll around some of the calculation pieces and all that fun.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. This year's been very much an education piece, right? What is AI? There's been several workshops. What is GPT? What is AI? Hopefully next year will be, how do we deploy AI? What are the use cases? How is it working well? Tell us a little bit about your background, though. You've been in payroll for a long time. Tell us about your payroll function now and your history in payroll.
Yeah, so I've been with Kohler about 12 years. When I started there, I had some stops before Kohler, but I came on board to run their sales and use tax, and payroll tax was a throw-in for me, and eventually wanted to expand my career and do something a little bit different. I looked in the organization and found the payroll manager was leaving. At that time, I'd already gotten my CPP, so I threw that on my plan for progression in the organization. They took me up on that, so we took payroll tax with us as we went in that step. Been doing that for a little bit now, and we've had great success. I've got a great team in the U.S. I haven't ran the numbers because we had some retirement I talked about earlier, but last year, at the beginning of the year, we had 11 people in the U.S., 252 years of service.
Wow.
And so for me, I'm very passionate about the turnover coming, because I know I've got some expected turnover coming. And so we've been very proactive with HR and partnership on planning for that, which is important. We've had the UK payroll team has been added to my function directly a few years ago. They've been a great success in the UK, and we've been picking up smaller countries over there as we look to expand the presence of payroll in Europe. We just completed a big divestiture, which really showed the light on global payroll at Kohler. So we're excited for the opportunities there that hopefully can present themselves soon. But long way to go, but we've made some great progress at Kohler on payroll.
Sounds like you've been pretty busy. How many people on your payroll then? Total, global? What's the employee footprint?
After divestiture, we're probably about 30,000 or so. Numbers are a little sketchy because that happened last week, but we're doing good and continuing to grow and looking to expand rapidly.
Yeah, that's pretty big. How many countries currently?
I'm not sure. I think we were at 60 at last count, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think when you get to 60, I can understand why it gets a little bit more complicated. Fantastic. Well, last question while I've got in. Thank you for joining me today, just to have a quick fireside chat. Someone's watching this. They're not sure why they want to come next year. And I don't know how many times you've been. You've been several times, so I'll ask that question as well. So I don't know what number of congresses is for you, but why should someone, put themselves out there next year and come for the first time to Orlando?
Well, I think the obvious is to meet Nick Day, right? I mean,
I'll take that. Or Danny Schulz. Thank you.
No, I think it's, one, as a Disney fan, you're in Orlando, so your company's going to pay for your flight to Orlando, so that's fun. But besides that, I think APA is really the premier education and payroll org for payroll professionals. This is the best topic. You're going to get more out of the networking than almost any other event you're going to have. It's fantastic for that. The education is great. You're going to expand so many opportunities, and you're going to decompress a little bit. Congress is so much on what you make of it. If you're going to be someone who really spends the time and puts in the energy, everything comes back tenfold from payroll and the organization and the networks you can create. There's great friendships that we've had, that I've had personally, that have really re-energized and kept me in payroll, which is great.
Yeah, and there are some mad parties as well. I should add that. If you want to, you don't have to attend them, but there are some mad parties as well. So, how many congresses have you been to so far?
I think this is 7. I lost track. It's a lot of fun. I tend to come every year now, and anytime they'll have me to speak, I'll happy to tell some stories.
So you're planning to speak next year as well? If
they let me, yeah, we'll see. That's not my decision. That's APA.
So what would be if you had a choice and they guaranteed you a spot, what would you be speaking about?
That's a good question. I think it depends where we're at on our journey from at Kohler for global payroll. I think divestiture accounting would be something that we've done a lot with, and just the continued transformation. I've always talked about payroll storytelling, because I think is super important, and it's how do you tell your story in payroll? How do we become the best marketers of ourselves? And I think that's the marketing degree that I have as well with my accounting degree, and it's those are the things that I think kind of go underrated, and sometimes people need a little push.
Yeah, nice. Well, this is of course the Congress called Payroll Transformation. It's all been about. I saw Peter Teliakos' some of his study results from the biggest annual survey that's been undertaken. And he said at the moment only 12% of payroll professionals surveyed are through the other side of transformation. So at the moment, everyone's in the middle of it. They're in the midst of it, whether it's AI, software, going global. Maybe next year we'll have a little bit more of that percentage change and people are coming through the other side. So I'm quite excited about seeing the stories that come through, including your own.
Yeah.
But listen, Danny, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Nick. It's been fun.
And that's about it. Thank you ever so much for listening to the Payroll Podcast, or indeed Pay Talk, if that's where you're catching this episode. I hope some of the insights from those industry leaders have been helpful for you. My apologies if the audio was a little bit loud in the background on times or a little bit unclear. That's just the nature of recording in a live environment. Most importantly, I hope you did get a feel for the energy and the vibrancy that the payroll community has at what was an absolutely wonderful 42nd Payroll Congress. I hope I will see you all in the Congress in 2025, which is going to be in Orlando. So if you're a listener of this show, that's an opportunity for me to meet you and say hey, or for you to come and say hey to me. I would love to meet you. Maybe you can be on the next show that we do at the next Congress, which is going to feature more people. Again, I'm going to try and get through as many interviews as possible. So a huge thank you for listening. A huge thank you for subscribing to this show. If you do, if you don't, please do remember to press subscribe. Please do try and share this episode with as many payroll colleagues and friends as you can. Combined, we can really raise the profile of payroll, but it does require some collaboration. And last but by no means least, if you do get an opportunity to review the show, it massively impacts the visibility of the show on major podcast channels. So please do leave us a review. Just go to the app, click on 5 stars, and if you can leave a comment, that'd be absolutely awesome. And of course, if you are in need of payroll talent, which was a hot topic at this Congress this year, a lot of payroll professionals not knowing where they can find skilled payroll talent. They're telling me that talent acquisition teams can't find it, and they're trying to recruit people without payroll experience. You don't need to. The people are there, but you need to go to an expert who knows how to find it. That's where we can come in. So please do give us a call at jgarecruitment.com, or if you're in the US, jgarecruitmentinc.com, and we would absolutely love to support you with all of your staffing requirements. So please do get in touch. Right, that's me. My name is Nick Day, CEO. It's been an absolute pleasure to host this show as always. I look forward to bringing you the next episode of the Payroll Podcast real soon. Take care. Today's episode of the Payroll Podcast has been sponsored by Deel, the all-in-one global people platform that simplifies how you pay your global teams. Deel's fully managed global payroll makes it possible to pay your entire team in over 100 countries and in over 200 currencies, all in one place. So whether you're an enterprise business, a small company, or something in between, Deel is built to meet your unique business needs. With in-house customer success managers, local payroll experts, dedicated points of contact, and more, Deel's fully managed global payroll eliminates third-party handovers and it provides unmatched compliance and flexibility. In fact, they'll even help you track and flag the latest changes to payroll regulations before they even become an issue. And with 24/7 monitoring and best-in-class security protocols, your sensitive data is always protected. So are you ready to transform your global payroll system? If you are, click the link in the show notes and book your demo with Deel today.